conclusion of the intelligence community since March 2023 that it's unlikely a foreign adversary is responsible for these anomalous health incidents. It's something that the intelligence community has investigated extensively and continues to look at.
The State Department rejecting the conclusion of an explosive 60 Minutes report on Sunday. The report claims that a Russian intelligence unit is behind the mysterious Havana Syndrome that sickened diplomats and other U.S. government personnel based overseas. This comes as a former CIA officer is calling for a congressional investigation after he was forced to retire because of a brain injury likely caused by one of those attacks, according to him. Former CIA Station Chief Dan Hoffman joins us now. He's also a Fox News contributor. Let's put up on the screen for everybody the symptoms of Havana Syndrome: migraines, nausea, memory lapses, and dizziness. Though I don't think that fully gives you the picture of when you listen to what people who say they are suffering from this have gone through. It is torture. Countries where people have possibly gotten Havana Syndrome, look at this map. It's quite widespread. Now, for a long time, the government has said there doesn't seem to actually be anything there. They can't explain the problem. But then you had this news report saying, actually, maybe there is something there and maybe there's a connection to Russia. So let me turn it over to you. Do you think there's a connection to Russia?
Well, I think for sure this is an unresolved intelligence gap. We haven't determined who's causing this, but we know there have been 1,500 reported cases of Havana Syndrome since 2016. That means there's a problem. The most likely culprit with the means and the motive, that's Vladimir Putin's Russia. The KGB was notorious for using very dangerous microwaves to try to steal our secrets from the U.S. Embassy in Moscow back in the 1980s. Vladimir Putin turned a defector, Litvinenko, into a human dirty bomb by using polonium-210. He's used a banned chemical nerve agent, Novichok, on his political opponents and tried to kill Sergei Skripal with that. So certainly Russia would have the capability, and Vladimir Putin, he wants to use this to constrain U.S. policy, if you believe it's Russia. He wants to be able to invade foreign countries and interfere in our elections and trample on the human rights of his citizens and others around the world without facing any consequences. So I think the concern is that this administration is allowing the possibility that Russia is the culprit to deter them from closing this intelligence gap. It's kind of like a mole hunt. It took us years to find Rick Ames and Robert Hansen. The way we solve this, I think, is with those CIA recruitment videos. You know, hopefully there's going to be a Russian out there who comes forward and spills the beans to the CIA.
Let's listen to Greg Edgreen. This is what he said on 60 Minutes.
I can tell you at a very early stage, I started to focus on Moscow. Consistently, there was a Russia nexus. There was some angle where they had worked against Russia, focused on Russia, and done extremely well.
Can you talk to me a little bit about that? Because that is interesting when you start to connect all of these dots.
There's been a lot of work done on the patients, those who have suffered those debilitating traumatic brain injuries. Mark Polymeropoulos, a friend and a former CIA colleague of mine, was hit by Havana Syndrome in Moscow in December of 2017 and had to retire in 2018. There were others reportedly who had been working in Kyiv in 2014, went on to other assignments and were targeted. I don't know that everyone was necessarily a Russia targets officer. There have been CIA, FBI, and White House officials who were targeted, but a number of them were focused on Russia indeed, absolutely.
There is still some skepticism that this is maybe a phenomenon that nobody can explain. Maybe, I don't want to say it's all in their heads, because when I listen to them, I know that their symptoms, they are feeling these things. The senator from Ohio, J.D. Vance, said that it seems like a lot of journalists may have lost their minds. Do you think that the congressional inquiry is the next best place for this, or would you like to see the Biden administration do more?
I think the Biden administration needs to be held accountable to do more. In an early testimony, Director of CIA Burns said that it was his mission to get to the bottom of this, and we haven't yet. So there's got to be congressional oversight for House and Senate Intelligence Committees, but this is something that the CIA needs to focus on. For sure, I think that there could be open hearings about this, but it's probably going to be something that's solved in the shadows at the end of the day with CIA recruitment operations overseas of Russians who need to know that if they came forward, this sort of protected intelligence about what Russia's doing to us, that they would be rewarded, and rewarded quite considerably. And I think that's the message that the Biden administration needs to get out. This is an unresolved intelligence gap, and we're willing to pay to close the loop on what's been going on with our folks who are in harm's way, and we're not doing enough to protect them.
Dan Hoffman, Fox News contributor, thank you.
All right.